Hello and welcome to my third video for the Energy Draw PTS. This is going to go over the changes that happened on September 1st, as well as a couple of little changes that happened on September 2nd. We'll go over those next. They actually address a couple of the concerns I had with the main changes, but we'll do that in a minute here. First off, they have normalized a fair amount of the weapons. Single damage projectile weapons are back to 1-to-1, and duration weapons are at 0.9-to-1. So, a couple changes here. The AC2 used to be at 2.4 because they had it at 1.2-to-1, but now it's back to 2. Same thing with the 5 from 6-to-5, and the 10 from 12-to-10, etc. The regular clan ACs, 10s and 20s are slightly less at 0.9-to-1, but that is because they don't have the opportunity to double tap like an Ultra AC does, but there's still a stream of shots because that's the way the clan autocannons work. So just giving them a little extra boost, a little less energy draw. Really, you're not going to take them over an Ultra 20 or an Ultra 10 ever, but just making it so they're not completely superseded by the Ultra version. There is something that the regular ones can do that is stronger than the Ultra. Moving down to the Ultra Autocannon's global UAC jam time has been increased to 8 seconds from 5 seconds. This is big. This is very painful for autocannons, Ultra Autocannons in general. It doesn't matter which size it is. The jam time is the same duration. So if you are shooting off your Ultra 2 and you jam, it's still going to be 8 seconds to clear, while shooting off an Ultra 20 will be 8 seconds to clear. I mean, they had it before where everything was 5 and it would still punish 2s more than 20s, and basically the smaller ones were punished more than the larger ones, but 5 seconds was okay in the sense, like you could deal with it, but 8 seconds is actually feels devastatingly long. Really, this jam time should be proportional to the size of the gun. Like, UAC 2 jam times should be quick because you're cleaning out a little AC2 from the compartment instead of having to clear out an Ultra 20 round. Like, yeah. So it should be the shortest for the UAC 2s, should be longer for 5s, longer for 10s, and then longest for 20s, in my opinion. I do like what they've done here with the jam chances. They have normalized them a bit with their sizes. So previously it was like 15 across the board. No matter what size of UAC, you had a 15% chance to jam whenever you pulled that trigger. Double pulled the trigger. Now 5s are slightly down to 12 for IS 5s. Clan 5s are staying the same. Clan Ultra 2s are down to 7, so half of the time to jam for Ultra 2s, which is great. And then Ultra 10s for Clan are up to 17 from 15, so a slight increase. And then Ultra 20s are up to a massive 20% chance to jam from 15. So overall, because of this UAC jam chance increased to 8 seconds, all of the clans, all of the UACs in general got nerfed a little bit, because when you do jam up, you're going to be out of the combat for even longer. A couple of the lighter ones got slightly buffed back because the UAC 2 went from 7 to 4, from 14 to 7, which is half the chance because you're going to jam up in the future, but still. Having an 8-second jam chance on not jam chance, 8-second jam time on the UAC 2 is painful, and we should adjust those around. Moving down here, the PPC, the energy consumption has been decreased to 10 from 12, so this is the normalization of 1-to-1 for direct fire weapons, and the cooldown was slightly lowered to 5 from 5.25. So tiny changes there, slightly buffed the regular ISPPC. ERPPC energy consumption was reduced to 10 from 12, again going from damage dealt 1-to-1 to draw, and the cooldown was lowered to match up with the regular PPC, and heat generation was lowered to 13.5 from 15 in the September 2nd hotfix. So this is one of the things I was going to talk about for the IS ERPPC, is before this September 2nd change was made, again, the IS ERPPC was just too hot for its worth. Like, why would I spend 5 additional heat, another 50% heat comparatively to the regular PPC, when all it does is, sure, it slightly increases my range. The big thing was that I can shoot under 90 meters, but it's not really worth that 50% in most times. So by them normalizing this, putting this to 10 from 12, dropping this to 13.5 out of 15 instead of that being 15, it's still much better for the gun. Although personally, what I'd love to see is the IS ERPPC get a slight damage boost in order to match up with the heat generation, because they're setting a precedence here of there being 1 damage per heat with PPCs, with what they've done to the ERPPC. They have removed splash. Now this is amazing. Splash being removed means that instead of you doing 10 damage to one component and 2.5 to each component that is adjacent to it, if there is only one component adjacent, you only do 2.5 bonus damage. Not like you do double the 2.5 to that one location. So instead of being 10 and 5 spread out, it's 15 to the one spot. Now this is amazing. This makes this clan ERPPC so worth its heat in terms of 15 heat for 15 damage. The thing is now a hot Gauss rifle. It can just plow through things. It's made stuff like the Adder and the Shadowcat and the Nova, who can carry dual PPC and work with it, even though it was a little hot. They have so much more punchiness to them. Like, quite literally, there was a very long time where I did a stream for the PTS. I had my buddy on there in TeamSpeak, and he was always ending up on the enemy team for me, and he was always taking his dual ERPPC Shadowcat and was just wrecking my face with it constantly, because it's 30 damage with the 2 energy weapons, and he was able to shoot that, retreat, cool off, hit and fade, and it worked really well. I really enjoy this change to the clan ERPPC. And now they've made this as a precedence of 1 damage per 1 heat, because these are 15 heat. We could do that with the IS ERPPC. We could go and have it heat generation of 13.25, then make it do 13.25. Heat generation of 13.5, make it do 13.5 damage. Or make it do 12 damage, or 12.5 damage, or 13 damage, and then make it that much heat. I think that would be a good buff to the ERPPC, and actually give it a point over the regular PPC. Also, one of my other concerns for the clan ERPPC is because it's such a large hit, it needed slightly longer cooldowns. It used to be 6, and even 6 seconds, it was like, okay, this is still feels like it's coming up too quickly. This has been altered to 6.8 as per September 2nd. So that was one of my concerns, and I'm glad that that occurred. But we're moving down here. We're going to the lasers. Energy consumption is now at 0.9 to 1. So every 1 damage is 0.9 draw. So small lasers at 2.7 from 3, medium lasers 4.5 from 5, and etc., going down the list. Now, I really like these changes. It makes the front-loaded damage weapons feel a little bit hotter. The lasers, I played Laser Bomb for a couple of the matches, and actually felt okay. Like, it still was penalizing to shoot an alpha, but it should be penalizing to shoot an alpha. And I could fire my, what did I play? A 3 large pulse, 4 mediums, or 5 mediums, or something along those lines. The regular IS sort of Black Knight laser bomb. It felt manageable. It wasn't as painful as it was before. So I totally agree with these changes here. You could play around with the 0.9 a little bit if you wanted to. You could go 0.85, 0.8, 0.95. You could play with it if you wanted to do another PTS. But I do feel like these numbers are pretty close in terms of what I would like to see out of the lasers. Now, there have been some actual number changes to the lasers as well. There's the 0.9 to 1 up here, then there's actual damage and duration changes to several lasers here. Typically, the large laser family across the board for both IS and clan. So, IS large lasers, damage decrease, and duration slightly increased. And ER large lasers, damage decrease, duration increase. IS large pulse, damage decrease, duration increase. You're getting a pattern here of damage is going down and duration is going up. So what it's doing is making it so that it's harder for the lasers to put a lot of pinpoint damage, where, say, like on live right now, the IS large pulse laser deals an incredible amount of damage in 0.67 seconds. Like, that's painful. And a lot of mechs that had a -% to duration, you could get that large pulse laser out there in a little over half of a second. With relatively good aim, that's basically pinpoint. And it's one of the reasons why I don't really like the place that large pulse lasers are in right now. And one stat that is not typically tracked by a lot of people is damage per duration. So before, you would have I think it was this 10 damage in 0.67, and you would calculate that through and you would get out a number. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was like 16 damage per 1 second duration. And you just looked across all of the lasers and there was no standardization of that. A lot of the more powerful lasers are the ones that had the highest damage per duration. So what they're doing here is directly attacking that number. They're both lowering the damage and increasing the duration, making it so that it's not so devastating in that way. Maybe some of these are a bit too far, maybe some of them are a bit too less. Not sure at this direct moment. They didn't get a chance to do a whole bunch with all of the different lasers, but overall I think it's good. We're also standardization of the large pulse comparatively to a large laser is +1 damage, which before used to be incorrect because the clan large laser was 11 when the clan large pulse was 13, so that's +2, but the IS ER large laser was 8. Oh, it was 9, and the large pulse was 10, so that was +1. So there was a weird discrepancy from that. But this is more consistent in terms of having an internal rule set of large pulse lasers are +1 damage from their regular counterpart. Moving forward here, Gauss rifle energy decreased from 20 to 18. So, like I said in the last one, I think Gauss rifles need that little bit of extra energy consumption. They can't be 1-to-1 15 energy draw for the 15 damage they do, because the Gauss rifles are so bloody cold. They only make 1 heat. I honestly think you don't need to bring this down, the Gauss rifle. I think the Gauss rifle should stay at 20. That's my personal experience with that, and how it felt in the thing. Overall, I really like these changes. I think we're dialing in very, very close here to what will be eventually a good system. But now we've gone over the changes itself, let's talk about a couple builds in particular and how they played. So I just wrote down a couple things here and I'll comment them. SRMs. Still feeling exact same because there was no changes to them. There was changes to what their opponents were doing, but SRMs still feel punchy. You fire 4 SRM 6s at once. They still do a good amount of damage. They have the downside of being you have to get a bit closer, and they have travel time because they're one of the slower projectiles in the game. But still, you can do a lot of damage without doing energy draw because of the energy draw values on SRMs. So I still think SRMs are okay in the system. You just need to get close, and then you can win if you have SRMs equipped mech versus somebody else who has lasers or possibly mass ballistics. We'll see. You have to do a lot of testing with that. Next up is Laser Vomit. Again, as I said, with the 0.9, it felt a lot more comfortable to shoot. You could alpha, it was still painful, but it wasn't like, oh my god, my mech's going to overheat guaranteed. There was just that little bit of pullback there to, instead of you being at 90%, 95% sort of range for heat, you're now more like at 80%, 75% sort of thing. So it's still painful to alpha, but you could alpha, and then when your weapon's recharged, fire a weapon group that was under the 30 limit and not overheat. So you could have, you could alpha and then go into your regular damage rotation instead of alpha and then having to retreat, wait a bit, and then go into your damage rotation. So you can use an alpha as an opener sort of thing and still actually stay in the fight, which I think is good. Daka Bear, as I said before about the UX, holy crap, that 8-second duration for jam is painful. There's several times where I was playing a match where I was trying to shoot an enemy, and I'm like, well, it's Daka Bear, just gotta keep hitting that button and keep docking, but I jam up and I literally have to go hide in the back, and it felt like I was there, and like I could have taken a break, gotten up from my computer, got a glass of water, come back, and then my guns would unjam sort of thing. It felt so long. Now, again, they just need to adjust those based on the individual cannon. Also, I have completely other ideas on how we could change the jamming mechanic in general, because I hate RNG based game systems, because sometimes they just randomly take a win from you or randomly give a win to somebody else that doesn't deserve it because of they got good rolls with the RNGesus. But moving on from there, the dual PPC Shadowcat. Holy crap. I love dual PPC Shadowcats and Adders and Novas under this new system. Having that clan ERPPC to 15 damage directly makes these mechs so much more punchy and so much better. Even just having a single ERPPC on like a Kit Fox or a Ice Ferret or something like those, the weaker clan mechs made them so much stronger because you knew that they could punch through something. Having that Shadowcat fly up into the air with mass jump jets on ECM from across the map and basically do dual Gauss damage is incredible. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope that they keep that change. And then they can also, because that's so great, I want the IS to also feel that as well, which is why I'm also advocating for them to buff the IS ERPPC damage to match its heat generation. And at the same time, just remove the minimum range from regular PPCs and give a nice variety of choices. So regular PPCs would be your shorter range, heat efficient ones, where the IS ERPPCs would be your longer range IS option with like, I don't know, 12.5 or 13 damage each. And the clan ERPPCs would be these hot Gauss rifles doing 15 damage, but also doing the 15 heat and doing the 15 draw. Well, I think that's it for my thoughts on PTS 3. I hope that it gets across, it gets into the hands of whoever needs to make the changes. I really think we're dialing in close here. If anything, things need to only be changed by a few % each way, and maybe with PTS 4, if we're going to do it, it will be complete and be something that can go onto live servers. But for now, thanks for listening, and good hunting.